Welcome to another AMA with Kadena Ecosystem. In this episode, we will be speaking with the team from Crankk. This conversation was recorded on July 5th, 2023, live on Twitter Spaces. The views and expressions in this AMA do not represent the views of Kadena Ecosystem directly and are not to be considered as financial advice. Please make sure to do your own research on the projects presented. Also make sure to subscribe to our account to be alerted of new uploads. Now let's get started. Enjoy. Welcome everybody to another AMA with Kadena Ecosystem. Today we have back with us the team from Crankk. They've been working really hard, building some really cool stuff on top of the Kadena blockchain. So welcome guys, it's good to have you back here and joining us in this space. Why don't we just start off with some quick introductions about yourselves and just kind of a quick synopsis of what Crankk's all about. So not sure which one of you guys wants to go first, either or feel free to just kind of jump up and take the mic.
Hey, my name is Peter Varga. I have the background, the founder of Crankk. I have a background in large-scale business applications, mainly SAP. I'm not that young, so quite a lot of years in that. I also have a background in, IoT, LoRa, and my passion has been, gadgets as well. So we have a very good team around us from both the technical and non-technical side. I think they won't get a chance to introduce themselves, so that's why I thought I'd touch on that. And I would let Milan introduce himself.
Hello to everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity provided by the Kadena Ecosystem for this really nice AMA. My name is Milan Minev. I'm CEO of Crankk. My background for the last 10 years, I'm involved in the crypto world, and for the last couple of years, mostly into the IoT and the LoRa sphere. I'm a community manager in the different projects before I met Peter, and we collaborate and start working together to building Crankk on Kadena blockchain. I'm really happy that our project is what it is right now, and it's really young and it's in the beta stage. But for the last year and some months, we really built a lot of things, and in this AMA we can speak all about them.
Well, it's great to have both of you guys joining with us. You guys do have extensive background in both your respective fields, which I'm sure you guys have been utilizing to build your amazing platform over at Crankk. Now, what was it that drew you guys to Kadena specifically to start building upon, being that there are so many options out there in the blockchain sphere and all these different networks that you could also just build upon, which, have been around longer, have done a lot more things, but what did you find that was special about Kadena that made you decide that this is the place that you guys wanted to build?
Yeah, I can take that. So it wasn't, it was partly by chance, but I didn't have a long background in crypto before, and I happened to have a home miner that was mining Kadena. So that's how I came across the Kadena Ecosystem, and I looked into it. And I got some initial impressions, but then thought that since I wasn't that knowledgeable, so I started kind of building a prototype on Ethereum, but I saw the high gas fees and then the at that time quite slow network, but mostly the high gas fees. And I thought, well, this is not gonna work. So I thought, okay, what else do I know? I know Kadena, so I went deeper and started realizing and recognizing Kadena's many advantages. One of them was the parallel with my background, and because I have a background in business applications, and then the fact that they use tables and like it's almost like a database that fits very well with my background. And also I do believe that the multiple chain idea and the multiple chain implementation does help with scalability, and then to keep the gas fees down, and of course the low gas fees. And I do believe that low gas fees. We have low gas fees now, and then it is going to be, my belief is that it is going to be sustainable. So yeah, and then a lot of good features that I got to learn during the time that I spent in Kadena. So yeah, I think that well, never say never, but I think security-wise, at least it's it's pretty understandable. And then there are good safeguards. That not to say that anyone can fail the security test, but at least there are very good and understandable features in terms of security as well.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you guys have built many projects or many different products on top of the Kadena blockchain and using your infrastructure, and they're pretty much based around the IoT space. Now, IoT is becoming more and more use cases where we're seeing the internet and things and connections through pretty much almost every device, right down to like vacuums. Just the weirdest things you'd ever think of nowadays are utilizing IoT and networks and sending data back and forth. So what are you guys looking to be like your goal with Crankk to help kind of secure these networks? And like you're using a LoRaWan network. So for some people who may not understand what a LoRaWan network is, can you maybe explain a little bit about what that is and how it operates in the IoT sphere?
Yes, absolutely. So I think I'll start with the last part of the question. So LoRa is a modulation scheme that was designed, radio modulation scheme, and not just that, but a LoRa standard, and then LoRaWan is also a standard. LoRa can operate in peer-to-peer mode as well, and LoRaWan is more of a centralized infrastructure. There's a little bit of discrepancy between building it over a crypto network, which the primary goal is to be distributed, and then there's the fact that LoRaWan was designed to be centralized. But I think you can strike a good balance, and then we have multiple ideas how to make it more and more distributed, and then that helps with again, built on the blockchain. So I'll try to steer into the rest of the question. I mean, the blockchain has huge advantages because it's. I think that the fact that it is independently verifiable is just enormous. I mean, that the advantage around being independently verifiable is enormous. And then there's a little bit of constraint, like what kind of data you can store on the blockchain. And then because you have to assume that anything you store on the blockchain is public. But at the same time, there are techniques and ways to keep it kind of private, right? And then I think that our goal is to build around the blockchain and Kadena. And then the primary focus is IoT, and then IoT does generate a lot of data, and then you need to be kind of mindful about how much of that you put on the blockchain. But all this is what makes sense, and then so I think there is a path forward in terms of data volume and what we put on the blockchain, and it's just. The blockchain is also like a way to build in the open, maintain verifiability, and but there are advantages as well. I mean, there are other advantages as well, like the payment system or the financial side per se is already there. So it's like a financial stack that you can build on, and then you can leverage the fact that that side is already there, and then the Kadena's architecture, and then the way it's built gives you a very good flexibility in terms of what you can build on top of it. And then our goal is to go deeper and deeper into IoT, but at the same time create and maintain an ecosystem that can survive as a whole. And then there are other aspects to it other than IoT. And then we'll definitely we view ourselves as a more of an ecosystem builder towards a certain goal, and then that is to make the ecosystem more and more sustainable from multiple perspectives.
Now, one of the things you mentioned about decentralizing the information and is being done through different nodes. Now, the people who are familiar with blockchain and how crypto pretty much operates knows that, a node is pretty much a version of a ledger that anyone can operate, and it pretty much just expands the growth of the network out to making it so that it is, no matter what happens. So like if a area goes down, like electricity goes down in a certain area, you have lots of nodes to cover your space, so the information is still getting verified, still spread out amongst a vast array of people and systems. Now, can you maybe go in a little bit about how your gateway nodes operate and how they are decentralizing the network, but also, keeping the network alive and further pushing the information out and securing the chain and securing will also in turn secure the devices that are utilizing the Crankk system?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would like to make the distinction between a Kadena node and our nodes. You can view our devices as node clients. I mean, Kadena node clients. So they have they don't want to. Obviously, they don't want to be, and they don't need to be blockchain nodes. I think that takes a little bit more power and capability, but that was never a goal. The point is that they are in direct connection to the nodes, and that's how it was. That's how it's supposed to be. So they can rely on a vast network of Kadena nodes that are available, and then as you just mentioned, if some of them go down, then plenty of others remain, and then there's a way to always find those and then get verified on the blockchain by those. But essentially, our nodes are Kadena node clients. And then the advantage is the advantage there is the direct connection and the direct connection to a distributed network. You can view Crankk or what we are building as a little bit on top of that, but at the same time, as you mentioned, what is the blockchain? The blockchain is a replicated database, and then with the code that with a code base, the smart contract code base that is also distributed, and then that way consistency is maintained and then also secured with the consensus. But we are building on top of that, and then there's a lot of things like, for example, Oracle network, and then a bunch of other things that are not within the capability of the crypto network itself, and then we are building on top of that, and then we believe we are creating something that can be viewed as a whole, and with a much greater set of features and capabilities.
Now, one thing you mentioned earlier is the commerce kind of financial side of things. And one thing that you guys have been doing along with your node operations and working the system is your Crankk token. Can you maybe go into a little bit about what all is involved in the Crankk token, its utility, and just like how it's utilized within the Crankk system and within the Kadena network itself?
Go ahead. Okay, thank you very much. Sorry about that. We are building internal ecosystem in Crankk that we can use the Crankk token to reward our gateways in different type of nodes that they participate. Right now, in the stage that we're using the Crankk token to be rewarded for the proof of network participation nodes that they provide a LoRa connectivity coverage. In near future, next week on 12th of July at 6 p.m. although CET, we will implement our second node operation that It's called consensus, and this decentralized consensus, everyone can participate in it with the staking of the tokens, of Crankk tokens. This is a small part of the project for the utilization of the Crankk tokens, and in near future we work on it with some partnerships that they will use Crankk tokens as a native token in their projects, but down the road to share news once they are ready. At the moment, as I said, we're using the Crankk tokens as a payment structure for the proof network participation nodes, for the consensus nodes. Till end of the year, we will provide solutions as well for the Oracle nodes and Wi-Fi connectivity, Wi-Fi nodes and Bluetooth nodes and cloud storage nodes. And for now, this is the utility of the Crankk token, and everyone can exchange it the exchange on our DEX built by Peter Varga. It's the first decentralized exchange built on Kadena with book orders. And everyone can exchange their Crankk tokens that they receive as a award for Kadena. And Peter can put more explanation on top for building for our utility.
Yeah, I mean, you've summed it up pretty good. So we are building an IoT network, but it takes a little bit more time to expand the network. So sensors and then data traffic utilization will come. But in the meantime, we understand that it's an exchange token. So to keep and maintain utility, or there are multiple ways to provide utility and value to the token. And then I think that at this stage, what's been possible, we've done what's been possible. So the token has a value, and then utility will just keep expanding. And then obviously IoT data traffic will be a major part of it, but definitely not the only part of it.
Now, when it comes to IoT devices and data tracking, have you guys been, just out of curiosity, have you guys been in any talks with any providers of things like smart meters, GPS? Because, to be, I find like a lot of the blockchain moving into the old legacy sphere of the ways that they're already collecting this data and stuff like that, that a lot of these companies are kind of hesitant to get involved in blockchain type systems just because of the kind of bad name that blockchain has gotten over the years from people spreading FUD and spreading misinformation about how blockchain is, used only by criminals and is a huge waste of energy resources and stuff like that. Have you guys had any success reaching out to any pre-existing Web 2 kind of legacy companies to show them that the benefits and all the good things that could become out of utilizing these kind of systems that you guys are building?
I can take this with Peter can continue after that. First of all, we try to simplify the entire connectivity between Web 2 and Web 3. And in Crankk, we're more predominantly open source project that we would like to provide B2B and B2C solutions that endpoint users and customers to be really easy for them to join to our network, to use our network. Right now, first we would like to build the base to provide 100% uptime to solve the solution to the complexity of our project, because we're developing ourselves all softwares and that need to be done it to onboard your devices. The different kind of gateways based on Raspberry Pi, based on Rock-P as well, chipset, and this kind of softwares need time to be built. And first of all, we would like to provide the solutions to build our project, and once everything is absolutely perfect and run smoothly, then we would like to provide the solutions to the endpoints. We don't see the point to chase the customers and the users before we solve the issues. As Crankk is, I think it's the only LoRa project entirely built on chain. is not off-chain, and everything is fully transparent, so that Kadena provide the options to use the ability of the Kadena. And Peter can continue from the other part.
Yeah, what I wanted to say was that I have had previous experience with building up networks for corporate use. And I think there's a compromise that you can strike. So first of all, they will want certain guaranteed availability and things like that. But and then maybe a separation of traffic from the public network. But I think technically all those are solvable. And then I think if you explain it to the customer the right way, then I don't think that this should pose a huge problem. Like you mentioned that, yeah, it's crypto related, things like that. Well, I mean, being fully transparent and at the same time explaining it the right way, giving the right guarantees in terms of availability, I think those should work. So that's my opinion on the utility. But at the same time, also, I mean, corporate is not the only addressable part of the market. I think that there's a huge on-field space still with in regards to sensors that are more consumer oriented, and then combining it with the Crankk ecosystem that we are building, and then letting our own existing customers use those features that come from these sensors is probably also a good opportunity. So that's pretty much how I see it.
Well, the fact that you're utilizing what is probably the most readily available to the consumer type of technology, which is Raspberry Pis and those kind of smaller, more accessible computing networks and boards and chips and stuff, that just opens up even more possibilities outside of the huge corporate realm that are using giant servers and all of this other technology that just isn't available to the general public. So, just providing those, building upon those is kind of the best way to kind of reach out and build your consumer base on a more personal, public level, and just kind of really opens the field up for everyone to kind of participate, which is really, really awesome. And the kind of the way that kind of feeds into the ethos that I've always said about blockchain adoption, and that is to make things as easy and accessible to the largest amount of people possible. And that's you can't just pigeonhole yourself into, I'm only going to go after the big dogs. You have to kind of make it so that it's available to everyone, from just a general person just building their own kind of IoT devices that can utilize your systems to be able to track and store information and their data, and it provides even more opportunities for people to get involved. So that's really good to hear that, it's just another fine example of forward thinking and thinking outside the box to allow more accessibility. So one thing you mentioned earlier is staking. Now, a lot of people, when they hear of proof of work and those kind of networks and those kind of consensuses, they don't think of staking as a viable option, because most people, when they hear staking, they think proof of stake are the only ways that you can stake coins. Could you maybe go into a little bit about how staking of Crankk tokens is going to be a thing and how it's going to be utilized?
Yeah. So I would like to add one more thing, that I couldn't agree more with your statement regarding the previous question. And I think that also we don't want to think in a two-tier way, or 2-3-tier way. Like, we are the builders of Crankk, and then there are the node operators, and then there are the consumers, or B2B or B2C. But you can, I think that multi-tier would be a a better way of viewing it. Like if someone has multiple nodes and then wants to cover for a certain market, then they are absolutely free to do so. So and then, as I said, if the financial side or the reward side is already there and it's flexible enough, then maybe we won't even need to do anything as Crankk for this multi-tier economic model to be able to work. Okay, so staking is what it really means in our vocabulary used this way is that you kind of lock a certain amount, but it's within a certain rules, preset rules, and then it's also on the blockchain, and you can always request your to unstake, and then there are certain rules for a lockout period. But anyway, it's automated, and then the rules are preset. So it's essentially you're locking some of your tokens, and then basically we call it proof of trust, which I think is a good way to characterize it. In a network, we built a network that is a good part open source already. So potentially you could change the behavior of your end node almost without limit. The limit is the blockchain that makes sure that you stick to those rules, and then it enforces those rules. However, not to necessarily gain advantage, but to disrupt, you could probably do that. So that's why we have this proof of trust kind of staking, that you have something to lose besides just if you're not behaving in an expected way, you may not have a chance to gain, but you would maybe have a chance to disrupt. So you have something to lose, and then that's basically trust but verify. That's our thought on that. And then of course more what determines how much you need to stake is of course has to do with the anticipated and expected award. The more a consensus rule will have a higher reward or in total, and then Oracle may have even in the future. Oracle nodes may even have a higher potential reward. So we try to make the amount of to be staked proportionate to that.
Just to add it on top, we call it, as Peter said, proof of trust, because our solution is a little bit from both of sides, both of world, from proof of stake and proof of work. In Crankk, you lock your amount of Crankk tokens. It depends of what node you lock staking. It's proof of trust, proof network participation, consensus node, in the future Oracle nodes, Wi-Fi nodes, Bluetooth nodes, cloud storage nodes, and this give really good stable of the entire project of the tokenomics, because it's help the token to keep the value. And when we preparing now the beta 2.0 for 1,000 more gateways to be onboarded on Crankk, and in near future in September we're preparing for the public onboarding, and the Crankk tokens are distributed. The daily distribution, it's approximately 44,000 tokens. Then the tokens will continue to rise up the value, because each nodes need to stake or locked in proof of trust, depends on nodes that they would like to participate in the network. And as everyone can see, with our private DEX, the price right now of the Crankk tokens in the market, that situation that we're right now in the world, it's really good. And we can see in the future that the staking mechanism provides a stable and security of our internal ecosystem.
That's great to hear. I was just about to ask if the staking option is only going to be available for those operating the different types of nodes, but you kind of pretty much answered that question with your last little statement there. So, it just kind of incentivizes even more people to get involved in the system and be part of the keeping the system secure, their nodes, staking their Crankk, keeping it out of circulation, which you said will also help with the price benefits and things like that. There'll be less Crankk on the market for people to be able to dump or turn over and things like that. So it's really a win-win for everyone that's involved. And you just mentioned something that's very interesting. And I feel like one of the biggest things that you guys have come to fruition, and one of your biggest achievements that you've made so far is the amazing beta that you guys have put on to build up this system and show the proof of concept of your system and how it works and everything. Now, you just mentioned that you're going to be opening up the 2.0 part of your beta and another 1,000 slots into the beta program. Now, I believe it was originally you started off with just opening up 1,000 and then you opened up another 1,000. And this will be the third iteration of 1,000. And reading through your last little Crankk update that you had on Medium, this may be the last chance for people to get in on the beta. Is that correct?
Yes, just a little correct. We start our project in alpha version. After that, we moved to beta with 2,000 devices from different kind of gateways. And now we have 7 more devices from different manufacturers for the beta 2.0. And we plan in September to run the public onboarding. We choose 1,000 to be the device to be onboarded in beta 2.0 because till 3,800 gateways on our network on Crankk, the rewards are fully rewarded for the participation in the network. After that, the rewards going down step by step, depend of how many participation are online. And yes, because we are developing so many different softwares and solutions with Crankk, it's built from ground zero. And we need to test this kind of devices because there are different hardwares from different manufacturers. We don't right now we don't work with manufacturers, and we build ourselves the software that need to be run on this kind of gateways because there are different hardware specifications, and we're using from as much possible devices on the market that people there already own, that it's easy to join in Crankk, not need to buy a specific software, like you say earlier, to buy a specific servers or expensive hardware. Well, I love to say that we're like Airbnb and Uber. We use what people they have it, and we try to maximize the features and options that they can use these hardwares, the nodes that we add day by day on down the road. And Peter can jump on it.
Oh, I think I don't have much to add. I think you characterized it pretty well.
Now, for people that want to get involved in this next round of betas, how exactly do people go about doing that? Is it just pretty much simply filling out a form? What all exactly would be the process? Because I'm sure as people listen to this AMA, they're going to be like, this sounds like something I really want to get involved with. So can you maybe just quickly go through how people can go about doing that?
Yes, it's really easy. They just need to subscribe in our website for our newsletter, or just follow our Discord or social media channels. And they need to have one of the following 7 devices: Bobcat 1 gigabyte RAM version, Dusum, Miner, Finestra, Helium OG, or Kerlink, Linksdot, or Syncrobit. These kind of devices we will plan to test in beta 2.0. And the onboarding process, it will be really easy as always. It's right now. They just need to follow our guides that we will share and provide for onboarding in our network. And they need to buy a license, the software license, that they need to run the functionality of the software on their devices. And after that, if they would like to participate in the proof of network participation nodes, they need to stake or log the amount of the tokens on proof of trust, and they will be available as consensus node as well for the staking mechanism as well, to stake their nodes as proof of trust. And these 7 devices will be in the beta 2.0. maybe in soon as possible in near future, we add more different gateways, as I earlier mentioned. We work on any kind of hardware that is capable to provide a utility in our network, and we want more brands and manufacturers. But first of all, we need to build the software for them. And yeah, the participation in Beta 2.0, just follow the news and subscribe for our newsletter. And days, few or week before the day that we will share the date when they can join, and we'll be 1,000 places.
Great. Yeah, there's lots of really, it's very easy to get involved. Like you said, just go to their website, hit the subscribe. It's right at the top. Just join Crankk. Very easy thing to do. Fill out their form or follow their social medias. They have a great Discord channel as well. So if anyone's listening wants to get involved, make sure you guys go check out their Discord also. Now, one of the things in your latest Crankk update on Medium, which if anyone hasn't gone and read their Crankk update for on Medium, you can go to alviso.medium.com, alviso.medium.com, and check out his profile there. He's got lots of great articles, but the very one we've been talking about lately is the Crankk update end of Q2 article. And one of the things mentioned in there, which a lot of people will probably be perking their ears up for, because this has been a topic that's been going around the Kadena community quite prevalently in the past little couple months or so, and that is GameFi. It says here that gamification, strategic attempt to enhance Crankk by creating similar experiences to those when playing games in order to motivate and engage users. Could you maybe go into a little bit more detail about how Crankk can also benefit GameFi built on top of Kadena?
Just to put gamification on the ranking system, it's I believe it's different part of the project. The gamification part, it's your account will receive let's say percentages for more voting power. We call it power bar, with utility that each user added on Crankk. Let's say if one user stake the proof network participation node or consensus node, or his early adopter in alpha stage or beta stage or beta 2.0, each one will receive in their bar more scores, and this will multiply their voting power. Because Crankk is a community-guided project, and we are fully transparent, and we believe in the community, and we give the power to the community in the future voting, that we need to take decisions and need to be publicly voted. The people that utilize, the users that utilize the most the network, they will have a better voting power on the voting system. This is the part of the gamification. It's like to engage the users more, like to set them back like they play games or still playing games, and this is it's more exactly for the voting power. And for the ranking system, it's a different part. It's not a game included in the gamification. The ranking system, it's Peter can explain more regarding what is mean, because I think some people make a mistake with GameFi or gamification and the ranking system.
Yeah, so I think we should mention that this gamification is going to be just an experiment, which will start the experiment. So don't expect huge features right at the beginning. It's an experiment, and we'll start on that road, and then it's mostly to receive feedback and how the community feels about these kind of features. And then totally separate is the ranking system. Again, that's been in development, and it's actually quite simple. It was also explained in one of the articles that are available on Medium. And so we do want the network to be as efficient as possible. That means that even without talking about trying to game the system, just to be useful. And then I took an approach of, let's say, first principle, meaning in relation to a LoRaWan network, what would be the best measurement for a certain node's utility and then value. And then it talks about redundancy and in LoRaWan, which is useful to a certain degree, but becomes less useful as there are more and more repetitions, more and more receivers of the same, let's say, sensor data packet. And then it tries to strike a balance between some redundancy, but not too much redundancy, and it adds a certain point, adds a point for the first receiver in terms of first joiner to the network that received it, and then the second one gets half a point, third one gets third point, and then we keep counting. And then in the end, if you compare it to the total number of packets, we get a certain percentage of like it's a usefulness score. But this will become this is what's displayed in terms of a percentage right now. But what everyone needs to understand that this is just an intermediate step, and then what will have it does not have an impact on your rewards right now. But even when we introduce it for real, it will have a small impact on your rewards. And then the way we will calculate it is like let's say the average score is 44 or 43, and then if your current score is above that, and you're likely to be making more than average, more than today. And then if it's less, then you're likely to make a little less. But we plan to keep working on it. We already received a tremendous amount of feedback about it, so we know what to improve. And then when we feel that it's ready to be introduced, then we plan it to have a smaller impact on your rewards. And then as we make it better, as we gain more and more, hopefully more and more positive feedback that people, majority of people would accept it as a good measure of node's usefulness, then we can maybe expand that range of how much it has an impact on your earnings, on your rewards.
Well, it's just great seeing use cases out there that are available in your realm and saying, hey, we can build something to help benefit not only our community, but the whole Kadena community as a whole. And that just sounds like another great way that you guys are doing that and utilizing your existing infrastructure that you're building to further bring more use cases to the community. Now, one of the things for many of the people here who may listen to the Kadena Campfire AMAs that they do on their YouTube, the other week they had DNA join them talking about what they've been working on. And one of the things that was mentioned was possibilities of partnering or working together with other like-minded projects like yourselves. Just wondering, since we have you here, if maybe you'd like to give your take on possibly some kind of cooperation or collaboration between partners offering similar type products.
Yeah, I mean, what would be perfect, what would be a great way to collaborate is, of course, these real life tracked assets, or, there needs to be a certain marker. I mean, that's their part. There needs to be a certain marker on that physical object, and then that mark in some way is stored on the blockchain, so your ownership is verified or is verifiable. And then there are other metadata or tracking data for something. So there's a unique package with a unique waybill number, and then that takes I wasn't total. I listened to their one of the AMAs. But I'm not 100% familiar with what they actually did. But I mean, essentially, you wanna track an asset, and then you want to get data points during its journey, and then based on tracking and other data, all that can come onto the blockchain, and then like the transfer of ownership when in regards to international commerce, make sure that whenever there is proof, enough proof or acceptable proof, especially on the blockchain, that the shipment has reached a certain stage or a certain location, and it gets into a certain status, then the ownership transfer can take place. So the way we can help this is, of course, the tracking part, and then gathering data points part, and make sure that the way of tracking is something that we can support, or we can recommend good ways of other ways that we thought of identifying unique identifiers and get data points when it's being shipped. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, there's always that's one thing I've always loved actually about the Kadena community and the projects building on it, is that people always find good ways to utilize each other and benefit from each other and build together and build things that you're building this over here, I'm building that over there. Let's find a way to kind of mesh these things together and just make both projects even better through cooperation. And we've seen that right from the little guys of the devs helping out NFT projects and tokens, all the way up to some of the bigger players like grantees and things stepping up and helping each other throughout their systems. Like us at Eucalyptus Labs, we're constantly in talks with pretty much all of the major players and all the different projects in the ecosystem, including you guys at Crankk and everyone. And it's just been amazing to see the cooperation between everybody to help not only build your own projects, but if someone has a problem with their project, people are always very willing to help each other out. And that's been really great to see, and something that I hope continues as Kadena gets bigger, as the community gets bigger, as the network grows. That's something I hope that we never lose sight of, is that underlying community and just being there for one another and helping each other out. So I definitely want to, commend you guys on all the great work you guys have been doing at Crankk. You guys have put out amazing products, and you're, like you said, you're still in beta, but your proof of concept is solid. You have lots of people already working through your system. And speaking of people working through your system, I can see one of them listening right now, and that is Action CEO. He's always been a very helpful community member in not just Kadena in general, but has done lots as well for you guys at Crankk and promotion. I don't know if he's listening, if he feels like maybe coming up and saying a few words. I'm sure he has some really good positive things to say about you guys as well. But I've absolutely enjoyed learning more about Crankk and learning everything about what you guys have been doing over there and all the amazing stuff that you've been working on and plans for the future, and how you're just bringing a whole nother aspect to the Kadena ecosystem for people to be able to interact with and just be part of this amazing infrastructure. So I want to thank both of you guys for joining us today. It's been absolutely amazing learning more about Crankk, and just learning that this is something that IoT and the Internet of Things is going to be even more prevalent as the future goes on. Like I said at the very beginning, we're seeing IoT being involved in all little aspects of your life, in all these little tiny devices. And, someone needs to be able to track that data, store that data, provide that data. And, what better way to do it than through a decentralized blockchain way that is not only, fully spread out across the globe and decentralized, but also open for everyone to be able to see and interpret if that is that is the way you want it to be, but also, having the ability to, only provide certain data on chain, things like that. The possibilities are really endless for where Crankk and systems like that can go when it comes to the IoT sphere. So thank you guys both for joining us today. It's been very informative, and I'm sure once people hear these AMAs, they're going to want to get involved, and you're going to have no problem filling those 1,000 spots for the next section of your beta. I think people are just going to be jumping at the chance to get involved with Crankk.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much for the really nice AMA provided by the Kadena Ecosystem. And Crankk, it's entirely open for partnerships, and we're really open-minded project, community-guided project. And as you mentioned, we're in partnerships with Kuala. Actually, CEO, it's part of our ambassador program as well. We really try to collect as much possible feedback from everyone to build what the community would like to have it in Crankk.
Great. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. Make sure you guys go follow Crankk, join their Discord, follow their Twitter, go to their website, sign up for the Join Crankk, fill out your information there to hopefully be one of the next beta testers on their amazing platform and get involved securing the IoT space on top of Kadena. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming out and listening to this AMA today. It's been absolutely amazing talking to these amazing fellas over at Crankk. And make sure you guys go check out KadenaEcosystem.com. Check out our calendar of our upcoming AMAs in the near future. Mark your calendars so you can listen to all of these amazing AMAs. And thank you very much for listening. Have a great day and take care.
Cheers.
That wraps up another amazing AMA. Thank you for listening. Here at Kadena Ecosystem, we strive to bring an open platform for projects being built on Kadena to present themselves to the community. Please ensure to do your own research on the projects before investing. Also ensure to follow us on our social media, from Twitter to subscribing to our weekly newsletter to keep up to date on everything KDA related. You can find all the links in the description below. Take care.